And we're alive. Here to I was going to hold up books and I was like, I realized I did not bring any of them over here, but we are here to talk about the Tawny Man trilogy by Ms. Robin Hobb. What's her real name? Megan something?
Megan Linder Snorter.
And is that her real name or is that another nom de plume?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Okay. Well, hello.
Hello.
I don't think you've read these books, Urza, but okay. You can spoil yourself. Hello.
We can start non-spoiler and then like lend home.
Yeah, but I don't think Urza will leave when we go to spoilers either. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know that is her real name either. We'll have to ask her bestie, George R. R. Martin, because we're so much tighter with him.
Well, we can look up the copyright.
Instead of actually talking about the books, we're just going to do a deep dive on doxing Robin Hobb.
This is how I found when I was trying to figure out who Ruby Dixon was. I went to the Library of Congress and I did some copyright research. That's all you got to do.
Or you can just let the mystique of their, the artist known as Robin Hobb.
Well, yeah, but if I want to read more.
Okay, Margaret Lindholm is. Oh, so Margaret is her real name, and then Megan is but Lindholm is real. Interesting.
Can Megan be a short? I know that Peg is a short for Margaret. Is shortened for Margaret. Is Meg/Megan short for Margaret?
I mean, even if it's not actually, it might be that's why, because maybe her family did say that, even if that's not like an actual typical nickname for that name. I could see Meg being.
Also, I just realized that I got the Trader Joe's boba tea.
Oh, I bought that too, but I haven't tried it yet.
This is my first time trying it. It's amazing. I made it with oat milk, but I just realized that this is probably not good audio, so I apologize. I'll try to not chew on my boba.
There was another live where I had leftover boba, and by leftover I mean like I had a little bit of liquid left, but mostly I had the pearls left, and I was like, I didn't think this through. Just gonna be sitting here chewing.
I'm gonna say for a homemade kit, 10 out of 10. This is very tasty.
Well,
it's very easy to do.
At some point, we're going to start talking about the books, I promise. But like before they came out with the boba kit, Trader Joe's released the brown sugar oat milk creamer. Mm-hmm. And like the first time I used that, I was like, this tastes like boba tea. And I was like, I just need to get boba. And now they have boba. So.
Well, that was my problem with it, is I thought it was too sweet for what it was labeled as. Like, it was sweeter than I was expecting.
Oh, I only ever put like the teeniest dash whenever I added to anything. So it was like,
fine. Yeah, maybe I just put too much in the first time I used it. But it was like, this is tasty, but I don't want this in my coffee. But I'm happy to have it with my boba tea.
I never cream my coffee, but I do sometimes cream tea. So then when I was making like vanilla black tea, and I added like a tiny dash of the oat milk, brown sugar oat milk. And I was like, this tastes like boba tea without the boba.
I could definitely see that being okay. Well, that's good. I'll take that under advisement. And also now that
I looked up like how much it cost to buy boba, like just the pearls, and I was like, I'll just go buy boba. This doesn't seem actually cheaper.
But I don't know. It was right there. I got 2 kits of it because I wasn't sure if it was seasonal or not. And
I don't think it's seasonal. I think it's just a new product that they're trying out. Have you had their boba ice creams, the coffee one and the tea one?
I haven't had it. I want to say that I bought a pint of the coffee boba at some point, but I just let people have ice cream whenever they come over, so I'm not sure if it's still there or not.
Yeah, I mean, I buy ice creams all the time because I always want to try them, and then I never eat them, so that every time my brother comes over, he like eats an entire pint of ice cream, so I'm like, I buy them and try them and then give them all to him.
Yeah, I don't think you could have eaten this one because it was made with cow milk, but the wild berry cheesecake Trader Joe's ice cream is a favorite of their seasonal offerings. So
I don't know that would have appealed to me, but I was really sad that their ube ice cream was dairy. I would have tried that.
I would like to try the mochi. I've seen that they have the mochi version.
They have ube everything.
Yeah, they got ube for days.
Today's coffee flavor, pronounced coffee, is the Oogie Boogie one from Bones Coffee, which is like brownie mudslide Irish cream something or other.
They have such cute Nightmare Before Christmas flavors.
Yeah, I got
right now. It's all over my Instagram.
I got them all. Actually, I got them all the first time they posted them, and I just was like, this is extravagant, but whatever. And then I was so glad I did because they sold out immediately. And I was like, well then.
Well, the branding was very cute.
Yeah. So the packaging is always cute, but this was like even better. Anyway, so Tawny Man.
Sorry.
by Robin Hobb.
Drink
Also,
chats with
Margaret
Lena
and
and Mark.
We did actually read the books. We're not trying. It's not like a presentation in class where you're like, I'm just gonna try to like shoot the breeze until the bell rings and be like, oh, I didn't end up having time to talk about the assignment.
I know. I just feel like we don't ever get to talk anymore, so we're just catching
up. Or
up.
there's always an assignment, and we can't just talk about Trader Joe's.
I know.
All right,
but
so
yes, we did read it.
I went back and re-listened to our messages because we finished a
I should have done that because I don't know how much I'm going to remember, but
it might come back to you as we talk about it.
I remember feelings.
Yeah, because like I thought I remember pretty well, but like let me go back and listen just in case, and I was glad I did because I was like, oh yeah, had all these thoughts. They were good thoughts. So yeah, I mean, broad strokes. Before we dive into spoilers, I think we pretty much 100% agree. In general terms, that the first one was pretty good, the second one was really good, the third one was like we had problems with it.
I think the second one was my second favorite Hobb to date. Like I loved, what was it, The Golden Fool? I never remember the names of
Golden
these books.
Fool.
The Golden Fool, definitely my favorite, or second favorite of this trilogy, second favorite Hobb overall. First one liked. I think I liked it better than you did. Like,
yeah, I know you liked it better, but I still think we thought that like that one wasn't as good as Golden Fool, and then we definitely thought the third one was the weakest.
Yeah, the third one to me had really high highs and really low lows. So like I rated the first and the third the same. I gave both of those 4 stars, but like I felt like the third book had 4.5 star moments in it, but it also had like 2 star moments in it. So that's why it felt more mixed. Fool's Errand might be one of the best titles in the whole series so far.
Which, like, when I went back and listened to our messages, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that I did not clock that Fool's Errand is like the expression of Fool's Errand. Because like it's not like I wasn't familiar with that expression, but I was just like, I'm so in the like mindset of this is the realm of the Elderlings, and the fool is not just a fool. A fool is a specific person, and they did have an errand, and like did not at all until I think it's Dutiful in the third book is like, that would be a fool's errand, and I was like, fool's errand.
I see what you did there, Meg.
Yeah. I mean, it also took me like 3 or 4 years, and I didn't notice it. It was pointed out to me that there is an optical illusion on the covers of Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, and I was like, there is?
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to go look that up.
Like Six of Crows looks like the wing of a crow, right? But then in between the feathers is the like outline of the buildings of Ketterdam.
Oh, okay. I'm not good at clocking hidden symbols. Like, for some reason, TikTok has started serving me, like, I don't want to get you demonetized, things that accidentally included Yahtzee symbolism. And I'll be looking and I'm like, why is I don't see it. And then like once I see it, I'm like, you can't unsee it. Yeah. But it's like failed graphic design where they didn't accidentally see that there was a Yahtzee little symbol in there.
Sure.
So
but these were intentional. They intentionally had this optical illusion. I was supposed to spot it and go, how cool, but I didn't see it. Just like with the original cover of Fireborn, where it's the dragon. And I was like, oh, it's a cover that looks like a Soviet era dragon poster. How cool. And then when I expressed that I preferred this cover to the new covers, everyone was like, yeah, because it had that cool optical illusion. And I was like, no, I like it because it's a dragon on a Soviet era looking poster. What optical illusion? They're like, oh, the wings of the dragon form the like silhouettes of the characters. And I was like, oh, nope, didn't notice that.
Yeah. See, these things go over my head. I'm just like, oh, it's pretty. And then I don't look deep.
I only see the primary image. I don't see the secondary image.
Subtlety is not my strength, it turns out, in terms of like graphic or visual design. Unless I'm told specifically to look for it, I will not notice.
Exactly. This is why, like, also when I play Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity, my friends will always be like, oh, it's Leanna's turn. Whatever you put down, make sure it's literal. Otherwise, she'll be like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, yes, I'm glad you know me.
Yeah, that is right. Yeah, I hadn't quite thought about it that way, but yeah, that's true. That makes sense.
Saying that checks out.
It does indeed. Anyway, Tawny
But yeah,
Man.
Tawny Man.
Yeah, so I think we ended up having parallel feelings. Yeah, I think.
I just noticed your earrings. Well done.
Well, a friend of mine gave me,
I mean, if
some
there's a
earrings.
time to wear them, this is it.
I figure like this was the right moment. So
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I definitely, because then again, when I went back and listened to our messages, I was like, yeah, the first book, when I first read it, I was like, this is like extremely well-crafted fan fiction to me, is how it reads. Is that like, it feels like, oh, what if there was continuing adventures with these characters, and like, let's recap where they've been, and like, let's see them all again. And I was like, this just feels like very extremely well executed fan fiction. Like the what if there was a sequel that wasn't planned movie thing, like that's what it felt like to me.
For me, it felt more just like a really cozy reintroduction. Like it was just sort of like a really slow burny reintroduction to where our heroes have been. I think seeing where the story ends up, because I don't.
Well, that's when I was like, and then the Golden Fool was great,
in retrospect,
and then the third one was like fan fiction.
Yeah, Fool's Fate, I think, makes me like Fool's Errand less, because I think it undermines some of what I saw as the character growth in Fitz that we see in Fool's Errand.
And then since I had initially had the fan fiction reaction, and in Golden Fool, I was like, oh, I no longer feel that way. This feels like I'm properly in a Realm of the Elderlings book. I'm in for this. Like, this isn't even good fan fiction. This is just feels like a Realm of the Elderlings book. I'm here for this. And then the end of Fool's Fate, I was like, no, this feels like fan fiction getting in. Like, this feels like not, like, it feels like wish fulfillment. It feels like not like a actual book.
To me, it just feels like it didn't honor the growth that Fitz, I thought, had, which is what I really was liking about the Tawny Man trilogy. Well, it's interesting. Here's a question, because I know everybody was like hyping us up for Tawny Man.
So that didn't help.
Do you think it's the best of the three series we've read so far? I don't either.
I think you and I still hold our favorites true. Like the first is still my fave, and the second is still your fave.
Yeah.
But I think we both agree that you would say second fave then would be the first trilogy. Because I would say then Live Ship would be my second favorite after the first. And Tawny Man would be third.
I think I'm kind of a toss-up. I mean, if you look at my ratings, I guess I would say I like Tawny Man better. Because I think I love The Golden Fool. I think that's a great book. So I think my love of that probably would put this a little above Farseer, but they're kind of a toss-up to me. Like there's things I really like and things that I'm more like, I'm not sure about in both of them.
See, maybe for me, I like Tawny Man even less because I do hold the first one so dear that like if it's doing something to undermine the first one, which it does, then I take more issue with that. You know what I mean? Just like a continuation of Live Ship that would retroactively shit on Live Ship, you would take more personally.
Yeah, exactly. I think that it checks out. And I mean, I actually liked how Live Ship was integrated into this one, so that probably also helped that like I liked
the fact of that happening there.
Yeah. And I think this, when I was trying to review this Golden Fool, I think what I was saying was this was the first book, it seems weird to say this, but it was the first book where I fully got how much people love Fitz. Like it was the first book where I think I felt emotionally connected to Fitz beyond just like tragedy porn of like, oh my God, Fitz cannot catch a break and I feel awful for him. Like I think I emotionally connected with him in a way that I think you probably did in the Farseer trilogy. It was my first time emotionally connecting with him on that level. So yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
but I feel like we're already opinion. People love Tawny Man. Apparently we're like missing something. I don't know.
Yeah, which is like I was just talking this morning with my patrons because we had a live chat about the buddy read we were doing and just about how like I mean in general like you know I'm joking like kidding not kidding about how I have unpopular opinions, like it is known, but especially like very extremely recently, like everyone hates Persuasion. I thought it was fine. Everyone loves Sandman and I borderline hate it. Everyone says Tawny Man is the best, and I'm like, it's the weakest one in my opinion. And I'm like, am I being gaslit? Is the world trolling me? Like, I have literally the opposite opinion.
You're not like other fans. That's really what it is.
And I keep being dumbfounded because I'm just like, are you watching the same thing I'm watching? Are you reading the same thing I'm reading? I don't understand how I have the literal opposite opinion.
Well,
But yeah,
I think maybe it just comes down to what you like about Robin Hobb in general.
Yeah,
like
well,
I can see it's a big payoff. Like Tawny Man is like a big, like we get a lot of answers, and like we have our first like traditional fantasy villain. I feel like in what is it, Fool's Fate, with what's her face, the white witch, the pale lady, whatever her name is. So like I can see that
from
there's some
Narnia.
payoff in that trilogy, but I don't know. It just wasn't.
Well, I mean,
maybe
and
people
people
just
when
hyped us up too much for it. I don't know.
When I had a problem with the ending of Assassin's Quest not giving me like paying off all the things it had set up, and what it did pay off, it paid off like quite quickly and kind of rushedly and kind of like out of nowheredly. And so people were like, well, the later books will give you more information and answer some of those questions. So like now that I've read Tawny Man, I'm like, well, yes, it did. So like that still doesn't, it can't change the experience of reading Assassin's Quest the first time and feeling dissatisfied. That simply is the way that is. But like I am glad to have those answers now. So Tawny Man gave me that. But honestly, like if I had to speculate, of course we have people who could tell us in the chat if this is their favorite. But I would say like, as much as, I mean, I love like reading about Fitz and reading about the Fool, and I think they're both really interesting characters and their relationship is very interesting to me. But for people who like ship them and like really are invested in the two of them being together, I think this would be the trilogy that would like, and like I enjoy reading about them because it's so complex and interesting, but I don't feel that way about it.
Yeah, like I really enjoy reading about it because I feel like I don't know how many relationships I've ever read that is quite like it, where it is romantic textually, but it's also platonic textually. Like it's such an interesting.
It has layers.
Yeah, it's so layered, and so it's. I can see why someone would ship them. I don't, but I love seeing them together. Like I love seeing. Anytime they're on the page interacting, I'm into it.
I think the majority of fan art is of Fitz and the Fool.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, is it going to be a fucking Molly? Like, no.
Based on the ending, I think Hobbin thinks that it is.
Yeah.
But
I agree with Ivan.
Hail Lady was a good villain, but I would love if she had a bigger role in Farseer. Yeah, she's alluded to, but she doesn't really like exist.
Yeah, I think that would have been really interesting, like foreshadowing, and Robin Hobb is so good at that. But then again, I don't think that she knew that this was. My understanding is she didn't know this was going to be what it was going to be.
So when I was talking to my patients today, I was just talking about how like, well, leave it to me since I have the opposite opinion of everybody all the time. Apparently,
listen, I'm excited for Rainwild. I'm really
like, based on my track record, that'll be my favorite.
Well, I really loved all of the stuff in the Rainwilds in Live Ship. Like that's some of my favorite stuff in that trilogy. I was interested to see some of that coming back in Golden Fool, and I'm excited. I don't know. I'd be interested to see why people don't like it.
And as interested and excited and enthusiastic as I am about just reading Hobb and reading Realm of the Elderlings, and after, I mean, Tawny Man was hyped, and we saw how that went, so like take it with a grain of salt. But the last trilogy is also extremely hyped, and people have said it's borderline grimdark, which like to me is like, woo, that sounds great. But that being said, I can't help but feel, since I already started to feel like this felt fan fiction-y and like a reunion episode and a continuation where there didn't need to be one kind of vibe, even if it's well done, then I'm like, there's gonna be another trilogy about Fitz and the Fool. Like, have we not, like, do we need to go back to that well? Is there, like, can you not write about Dutiful and his life, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, also because from my understanding, and again, I might be wrong, but my understanding is that what the trilogy we just read was supposed to be the end of Fitz and the Fool. Like that was supposed to be their ending.
Like it.
So I think that if you don't like that quality about Tawny Man, I share your trepidation that might be the feeling of, I don't know. I'm going to try to keep my expectations pretty low for that because it is also pretty hyped. And I love Robin Hobb. Like, I've never had a bad time in a Robin Hobb book. I've yet to read one that I was just like, I don't like this, but...
it's on a separate scale. It's on a Hobb scale of like, for Hobb, this wasn't great, but like as compared to most other books, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. So I mean,
but like in the beginning of Fool's Errand, like, I mean, not just that we're coming back to these characters, because like that in and of itself, you have the feeling that it could go that way, but it doesn't necessarily have to. But like the fact that like we got like a where we've been in the meantime catch up from Fitz, and then it almost feels like as because he's been by himself, and then we have characters that are like showing up at the cabin to like kind of come back into the story, and it feels like reunion episodes where that actor now comes on to the set and everyone claps and cheers because like, oh, it's Joey again, you know, he's back for the reunion. Like when that's what it feels like when these characters were like coming in, and I was like, I appreciate if this was fan fiction how that would be what you'd want to do, but like that's not what I read a Robin Hobbin book for.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know that was my experience of it, but like if that was yours, I could see that being frustrating or like not
like an
your
excellent
favorite experience.
That.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that wasn't quite how I felt about it, but I could see it. There's a second POV. Interesting.
Is it the Fool? It would be interesting to get the Fool's
I don't think
POV.
that would be good. I don't think I want to get.
But it's called Fitz and the Fool, so like if there's two POVs,
I don't know. Maybe it is Dutiful, or maybe it's Nettle.
So then why call it Fitz and the Fool?
Next gen. Yeah, I do agree. I think it would have been. I know we know that it doesn't follow Dutiful or Nettle. I mean, I assume not anyway, since it's the Fitz and the Fool series.
Well, I mean, like they might be in it, but like it's not
their books. Like I think that would have been interesting.
There's just a lot of characters. There's new from the live ship books. Yeah. Like there's lots of next gen characters that it could be about.
Yeah, which I would enjoy.
And that it could be so like not to. This is the part of the live where I bring up Abercrombie. But when he wrote the Age of Madness trilogy, and he did include characters from that would have been in the previous books, because they are either just still around or they are the parents of some of the main characters now. And I found that, and he was saying then that he also very much made an effort to make sure that you would have those characters there, but they would not overshadow. Like it wouldn't be the Luke Skywalker overshadowing the new supposed protagonist of your Star Wars films that you're like, but no one cares about them. All you care about is showing me Luke Skywalker. Like you're like, he's overshadowing the protagonists because he's like the fan service old favorite. So like, yes, you have some old favorites in the new trilogy, but they're not overshadowing the new protagonists. They're just also there because they naturally would be, because this is their kid, or like they are still there. But so like if Robin Hobb, like yes, Fitz might still be around, the Fool might still be around, and they might have an interesting part to play in what goes on, but like pass the torch. And I'm criticizing a series I haven't even read yet, but I'm like
yeah, I tend to agree, because I think that the first series in a lot of ways, I mean, Fitz is obviously a main mover in it, but it's really about the generation before him kind of like having their choices pay off. I'm trying to keep this not too spoilery, but I think that's an interesting, like, he is a pawn in the previous generation's games. This trilogy, it feels more like his gen's time. And so it would be interesting if in the final one, it's kind of more the energy of the next generation making their choices and having some of that pay off. So not that it's like strictly, because, you know, Dutiful is obviously a big player in Tawny Man, and I'm not saying it's like strictly like generation 1, generation 2, generation 3, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where she goes. We don't know yet. We should like, okay, here we go. Yeah, maybe we should reserve judgment until
not necessarily accurate. In which case, then I like take issue with the naming of the trilogy.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, there's his adopted son.
Yeah, I did like some of the Hap stuff, but I didn't quite know why there needed to be such strong parallelism between Hap and Fitz when he was that age. Like, I don't know really, what is that trying to say? Is it like that we are doomed to make our parents' mistakes? Like, we are all, we all make one another's like, terrible mistakes?
Yeah, there was some conversation too, though, about like specifically for Fitz to have to realize that it's not his responsibility. That like, not that like that's not exactly what I mean, but you know that like he can't prevent him from making those mistakes. He has to let him make his own mistakes, just as he made his own mistakes, and that like he has to accept that that's going to happen, and that he cannot prevent it or protect them from that happening. He just has to be there for it and support him as best as he can, because that's
Yeah.
what he would have needed and did need and didn't necessarily get when he was that age. So like
Yeah.
what it was that he needed and didn't have, Fitz should, instead of preventing him from making the mistakes that Fitz made, the thing he should correct is to be the thing, be there for him, for his son in a way that he would have needed, but when he was making those mistakes and didn't get.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. All that to say, Hap is fine. I don't know that he's like one of my favorite parts of the Tawny Man trilogy.
I think he's mainly there to be a foil and like a way for Fitz to work out his own baggage rather than a character unto himself.
Unto his, I kind of agree with that.
And he's written by Hobbs, so of course he doesn't feel like a cardboard cutout. But
no. But like for instance, I find what's his name, Thick, like way more interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know how I would feel about Thick when he was introduced.
Oh, somebody has a tiny eggplant and is trying to compensate.
It's been a very noisy day here in general. Like the number of car alarms that have been going off nonstop is truly it's nirvana. But yeah, I was not worried per se because like Hobbs.
Well, I was kind of worried.
Topic, but like
yeah,
I was like, I mean, if it was
real
Hobbs, I'd be like straight up scared. But I was like, it's Hobbs, so I'm like,
yeah,
you're usually good at like delicately handling delicate things. So I'm like, okay, let's see what you do with this. And I ended up really, really liking Thick and like unto him, like himself, and also just like how the other characters changed their relationships with him and how they worked through their own assumptions about Thick and like their own realizations as concerns him. And I ended up really, really loving Thick.
Yeah, and I think we know more about kind of the world and the magic through him in a way that I really enjoy.
Yeah. Fitz knows he didn't listen to advice, so why would Hap? That Fitz becomes less of a main character in each of his trilogies. I would say he was pretty main in this one. He didn't seem less of a main character in this than he did in the Farseer trilogy.
I would say that this one felt a little bit more of an ensemble piece than Farseer did, but I think some of that's just that because Fitz is now fully an adult, he can actually like he has more interesting interactions, I think, with other characters, so it feels a little bit more like polyphonic. Especially like in Assassin's Apprentice, because he is a child. Like it is so in his point of view. That I think, yeah. I don't think he's less of a main character, but I could see maybe it feeling a little bit more like other characters had more screen time.
To me, I can see why you would say Tawny Man is more about the Fool than about Fitz. To me, it just feels like it's more that instead of the Fool being a walk-on character that is an enigma that you're like, I wonder about that guy, and then you forget about it, like he's like a very central piece of the plot, but it's still about Fitz's emotional journey, Fitz's growing up, Fitz's relationship with the Fool, Fitz's relationship with what he knows about the Fool, Fitz's reckoning with what happens to the Fool. It's still very like, it's about Fitz, and like anything to do with the Fool is about how Fitz feels about what's happening with the Fool. I don't know if you.
Good point. The trilogy is called Tawny Man, so there you go.
But it's not his perspective. It still fits his perspective.
No. I mean, I guess, though, if we were going to get, like, into the symbolism, I guess that Fitz is kind of John the Baptist, and the Fool is more like the Christ figure betwixt them.
Except it is the other way around, because, like, the Fool is like, you are the changer, you are the catalyst, you are the one that can make things happen, and I'm just trying to make sure that you can. So it's still about Fitz being the chosen one.
Well, but what happens to each of them?
Yeah. True. It's not a perfect analogy.
How dare her not make this an Easter play, a la the Church of the Rock.
Oh no. But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, the Fool is obviously an important part of it. I just, at no point did I not think that this was Fitz's story. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Fitz feels like less of a pawn in this one, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, he has more agency.
He gets so much more agency,
and betray people.
yeah, I enjoyed that, seeing him have that side.
Yeah,
which might be part of what I.
Oh
no, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say that, like, I think you and I talked about this more when we read Golden Fool, and we didn't really talk about it that much after finishing Fool's Fate. But the way that we realized that we were seeing Chade through Fitz's child's eyes this whole time, and how this at the same time that Fitz realizes that, you know, realizing your parents aren't God, you know, that we also simultaneously realize that, oh, like, we also took, you know, Chade was, you know, the Dumbledore figure that you're like, well, he says whatever he says is the wise, good thing to do. And you realize that, like, no, he's got his own pettiness. He's got his own blind spots, he's not infallible. And it's not that
his limitations
isn't anymore, but when Fitz realizes that, yeah, it's not just that, like, oh, he's getting old, because there's some of that, but it's also that, like, how much it must have been eating at him this literal entire time. And I never realized it, but he was probably harboring this bitterness and jealousy about not being, you know, being denied the skill his whole life, that this didn't come out of nowhere, that this isn't a sudden thing with him. It's just suddenly become something that he has reason to speak about. He's been bottling it up this whole time because, like, it just wasn't an option. And, like, now that it is an option, he's realizing that, well, he didn't just realize that he's mad about this. Like, he's probably been mad about this his whole life. And, like, how much has that shaped how he decided to do things, even if he didn't know that's why he was deciding to do things the way that he did. Like, he's, you know, he's imperfect.
Yeah. Well, and I think, yeah, like, having a new perspective on even just, like, coming back to these people and seeing who they are as different people, whatever it is, 16 years on.
Would we say we're in spoilers yet? Kind of.
Not we haven't gotten into specific yet, spoilers. We've alluded to them.
So basically, we're going for sure to talk about spoilers. We're not, so far, we haven't gone too specific. But yeah. Yes, I guess the answer to that question is yes.
Yeah. The fact that, like, Chade is a different person because it's been 16 years since Fitz interacted with him. And, like, Ketcherkin, for example, I think is really an interesting character in that framing, because she has had to be the queen and, like, has had to, like, run things and take care of Dutiful and you know, keep the ship running, keep the train on time. I don't know, whatever metaphor.
She's already very, very, I must be the sacrifice. And you're like, yes, we know.
Yeah, but, like,
sacrifice yourself all you want.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like we do get a different perspective on her, but it is, like, it's hard to parse out how much of that is, like, okay, Fitz is fully a grown-ass man now, versus also, like, it's been 16 years and people change over the course of 16 years. So I think that's interesting too.
But also, yeah, being a grown-ass person, then you realize that, like, you notice things about people you didn't notice before, and you also have the perspective of having been in the place they are in, because you never had a position of authority before. So now you know how many times you've had to make tough decisions when you didn't know what the heck you were doing, but you had a young person depending on you, and you're like, oh yeah, and, like, yeah, they're not. Yeah, they don't actually know what they're doing any better than I do.
Yeah, like, when you become an adult and realize that nobody ever really thinks of themselves fully as an adult.
We're all just winging it.
Yeah. And, like, I don't know. I do love Burke. I don't love how Burke gets handled, but I love seeing him, and, like, I don't know. I do feel like Fitz has, like, a deepened, like, appreciation for what Burke did for him and who he was to him, but I'm just...
But at the same time, an even greater resentment for how Burke, or whichever way you're supposed to say it.
Yeah, I have no idea how to say his name.
How vehemently he was against the wit. Because, like, that...
Okay, yeah. The wit is... I'm going to say... I like the Piebald Prince novella we read probably better than the first or third book in the Tawny Man trilogy. I love that novella. I thought it was so interesting and, like, totally recontextualizes the politics and the magic of the world.
And if
Yeah.
not recontextualized, it certainly provides missing context for why the wit is so reviled. Like, I accept it at
Yeah.
the value that it is, and you don't really need to explain to me that there's some kind of bigotry or some kind of prejudice in your world. And if you're saying it's to do with the wit, you don't really need to explain to me why beast magic would at some point become vilified. Like, that checks out for me, that people would be like, oh, well, you're together with beasts. Like, you don't have to explain that to me. Like, I don't doubt that at some point that would become vilified. But now we have actual reasoning for like an origin for that from that novella.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
And like that coming home to roost in this, I thought was really satisfying. And yeah, I really, really liked that novella. It was also just like a different tone for a novella than I would have guessed for this.
And I thought it would be
big
light.
Series.
It definitely wasn't.
Yeah, well, it felt like a fairy tale kind of. And yeah, so if people have not read that novella, they definitely should.
But again, it's not a light read. You're like, oh, it's a little
No.
in the world. I was like, this is one of the darkest books in the entire realm of the
Oh my god. Like fantasy
no.
racism, ye fantasy animal death, content warnings for sure.
Plus
but also lesbianism, so that was kind of fun.
I don't know if I would describe anything in that book as fun, but
interesting. A different layer, something that I was glad she did.
Yeah. But yeah. There's just I don't know. Like I've been able to pinpoint some reasons why I had this like fan fiction-y feeling about it, where like other things that also could have done that didn't do that to me, and I was glad because like again the later First Law series, the second Red Rising trilogy, like I think a lot of readers went into those series being like, we'll read it, but is this just gonna feel like an unnecessary sequel that you're doing for money? And like both of them took a lot of care to make sure they didn't feel that way. And I'm not saying Robin Hobb didn't put care into this and whatever, but like I had that feeling with these books and I didn't have that feeling with those other books. So like I was disappointed to feel that way at all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just didn't quite have that experience, but I can see that being yours. Like, I think her actual writing just keeps getting better and better, or like it continues to be amazing. So even if the plot lines feel a little like, I don't know, like just on a page to page level, I'm enjoying the writing so much that I don't, in general, it doesn't like spoil my impression of the book as a whole.
Well, and I think Golden Fool worked for me so much better, and I didn't have that feeling about it because like as contrasting with Fool's Errand felt so much of like, let's catch up, let's remind you who the crew is, let's have reunion moments, let's reminisce, let's like, it was like all that, and that all feels very like, oh yes, nostalgia, oh yes, where have we been so far? Whereas Golden Fool was like, this is new relationship stuff, this is new material, you have a new conflict, you have new politics, like now we're in a new story, and this I'm here for. Whereas the first one felt very like, like still kind of like living on the fumes of what was still left over from the end of Farseer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Sorry, I'm hunting for every last one of my bobas. Yeah, I mean that does make sense. But I think it can be kind of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if there's a story called Words Like Coins, where does that fall in the chronology? Like, can we read that yet? Should we have read that already?
Oh yeah, I have a book of her short stories. I haven't cracked it open though. Oh, I forget what I was saying. I don't remember. It must have not been that important.
I don't think Fitz is meant to be a prophet. Or
I think she's saying that she kind of sees this reversed.
Even if it's not a prophet.
Oh yeah, well, apparently we can read the short story. Okay.
Cool.
Is that... let me grab that collection real quick.
Okay. I will entertain you while the book is being acquired. A completely different character. Hedge witch dealing with pixies.
Okay. So are all of the books in here, are all the short stories in this one?
So you can also read some of the stories in The Inheritance.
Oh, okay. So this doesn't have all of them.
So I guess it doesn't have that one that was just mentioned, the coin.
No. I'm going to have to look for that. somewhere else. Okay. Well, darn it, another book I have to buy. Rats, I'm devastated.
And like, not to once again like talk about a series books that I've not yet read, and seem to have issues preemptively, but like we said, like when you read these books, you're like, this feels like, and I think we've confirmed that she pretty much meant this to be the end of at least their story, these characters, and it feels very much that way. And yet, because I have heard so many people say that the end of the Realm of the Elderlings, i.e. the end of Fitz and the Fool, is such a like, aha, wow, this all comes together, all of it makes sense now, you know, kind of a moment, or, you know, if not single moment, that like that's the feel at the end of the trilogy, that now you know how all of this fits together, and now you want to go back and reread it because now you have like all of the info and it's going to recontextualize everything for you. So like, that's great and all, but I also feel like it's weird about that. Is that like an accident? Because like, if this was kind of meant to be the end and then she kept writing, is it like, did you realize you'd left stuff hanging and that you hadn't explained it and you're like, oh, I better write some more books that explain it?
Well, but I don't think that's necessarily a knock, because I don't know, like I've interviewed Nalini Singh before, and she's talked about her writing process as very sort of like, not like pantsing exactly, but just that she feels like she kind of lets the story go where it wants to go. So it could be that she did kind of go back and read the way that it had ended and felt like, I feel like that there's more. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
No, I think more in terms of, that's not a bad thing at all. To me, it's more that like people are saying that like what you find out by the end of Fitz and the Fool makes you go back to Assassin's Apprentice and like all the way to the beginning and being like, suddenly pieces of this make sense now. Suddenly pieces of this are explained. I'm like, that to me sounds like someone had a long game and was planting seeds all along that they planned to pay off. But it doesn't, I'm pretty sure they didn't, because they wrote, like they finished a trilogy. We're like, how about I write another trilogy? How about I write another trilogy? So like, when did you start deciding to plant seeds?
I feel like that's being a good reader of your own writing. And that's a writer who has enough like richness in what they're putting on the page that it allows for further exploration or further like.
Well, and then this is where I think it, not that like because you're friends with somebody that means you have the identical writing styles, but she and George R. R. Martin are friends. And like George R. R. Martin, I don't know if other people called it this or if he himself calls it this, but that his approach to writing is the Gardner approach, where you just kind of like, you cultivate a lot of different pieces
exactly.
that like you kind of grow in their own ways. And that means that like there may not actually, this may never pay off and this may never go somewhere, but you like planted some seeds, and then we're like, if they grow, and I will take advantage of it. And if they die off, then they die off. And so like, if she and is employing a similar strategy to George R. R. Martin, except actually finishing her series.
Yeah, except actually finishing it. Yeah, that's kind of what I think. And like, I think what makes you a good writer is being able to see which of those seeds are growing, which of them aren't, and remembering that you planted a seed like 3 acres away.
Well, that makes you a good writer if that is the strategy you're employing. Like, you can be a good writer and not be a gardener in your approach.
Yeah,
so you can be a total plotter and be a good writer, although not usually my favorite.
Yeah, I guess that's what I mean, of like people who aren't like, there's some writers who go into a series and it's very clear that they're like, we're starting here and here's where we're ending up, and like these are the major beats we're gonna hit. And I think those can be great series. But I think just because somebody doesn't take that approach doesn't mean that they can't end up with a very satisfying series, but they have to be good readers of their own writing, if that makes sense. Like, they have to be able to like see what has happened and figure out like interesting ways to move along what they've already put on the page, because otherwise it feels unearned, or just like, where did that come from? Or that doesn't make sense with what you did earlier. And yeah, I definitely feel like I've read some series where it felt like, ooh, okay, you didn't have a clear plan, and a clear plan never came together. So that's why this feels not very satisfying.
Kind of like those books that were published serially, like, you know, back in the olden days.
Well, I don't know. I think that's a different kind of experience.
Yeah, but I feel like that's why, as a modern reader, especially when you don't know, or if you don't know that that's how these were being published and they were paid by the word, and it can feel very much like, why did we spend all this time in this random? Why wasn't this cut out? And you're like, because maybe it would have been if it had been written all at once, but it wasn't, and so it's just still in there.
Yeah. I have a couple of authors I really like who write serialized things for like for their website kind of a thing. And if they don't do some serious editing before it gets published, yeah,
90% elf confirmed.
then it can feel like, oh my gosh, like this is a meandering mess. Like it's I guess it's fine, but it's not great because it's just sort of like quest of the day. Like I put up a new chapter every day, so here we go.
Jonathan says stumbles upon hemp
Yeah,
plants.
exactly.
Oh yeah, I forgot I planted that.
Yeah. Should we get into like full on spoilers? We've been talking for 45 minutes without getting into like the meat and potatoes of what our
I know, I'm kind
problem
of proud.
is.
Like, I'm impressed that we are able to do that. But then again,
Yeah.
I think a lot of books that have a lot of thematically strong content,
Yeah,
it's easier to do that with.
I agree. I mean,
I think it would be. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean, like we could probably talk for another 2 hours about like the themes without ever getting into a ton of.
Yeah,
specifics.
people might get spoiled vaguely, and like I'm getting the feeling something kind of like this might possibly happen, but like not actually confirm.
Yeah.
Anything. But yeah, I think there's other books that like, not that it doesn't have great theming, but I think the Green Bone Saga, it would be a lot harder to talk about without like this long without spoilers, because you're like, I can tell you that she does a good job with things, and that's about it. And now I'm going to tell you all the specific times she did a great job
those
with
things.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Hobb has a lot, especially when it's a third series and a series of series. Then you can even more like big picture, broad strokes. What are some trends we're observing in her writing style?
Yeah, I think there's a lot about like agency. This series to me, this trilogy in particular, was a lot about agency. Like it's about Fitz finding his agency, about like, is fate a thing? The last one is called Fool's Fate, but how much is his fate fated? And like even just the whole premise of him being the catalyst and like someone who makes changes to things, I think is really interesting. So yeah.
And as always, we have the recurring theme, either because it's an intentional theme or because, writers tell on themselves based on what they write. You're like, I think this is an issue for you because it keeps coming up in your stories. But the idea of like, who are your parents? Who are your children? Is it who you raise?
Oh my gosh.
Is it who take care of you? Is it, your blood relation? Is it both? Is it neither?
Robin Hobb is the anti Agatha Christie because Agatha Christie is so convinced that like blood will tell. And Robin Hobb is just like, no. Like it's
but at the same time, like you see so much of like how dutiful is like, you weren't raised by Fitz, but like you look kind of like him, you have the wit from him, like you have some.
You are his biological child. Because I still have never gotten over the fact that they like swapped consciousnesses to create dutiful.
Robin Hobb sometimes does some weird things.
That sent me. I will never get over that. I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
What in the Freaky Friday? Wait, what?
That was some kinky fuckery.
It truly was. I was like, this is a lot.
And the way that everyone is like kind of okay with it, and it's not even one of those like, we don't talk about it. They're just like, it was so noble that we did this thing, and you're just like, yeah, that's one way to look at it.
Yeah, that is one way to look at it. That was a moment. Oh my gosh. So
like, I mean, I don't understand. Like, I find like, how can Ketrican and Fitz ever like look each other in the eye anymore? Like,
well, because Fitz wasn't there.
But he knows.
He knows, but like he literally like Fitz is Dutiful's father, but has never really seen Ketrican naked when you think about it.
I know, but if I knew that, in reverse, that I was like, I knew that my body had been used in this way and I wasn't mentally there for it, but I still knew, and I knew who, I would be like, I can't look you in the eye because you've seen me naked. I've not seen you naked, but
it's so... I will never get over it. It was when it happened, I had to like reread it like 3 times to understand, to make sure I was not wrong.
Farseer is also the same one in which we have Fitz and Molly, but it's not Fitz. It's Night Eyes.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, and that's...
How could you forget? Yeah, Farseer has some kinky fuckery.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Man. Fitz thinks Ketrican doesn't know.
It was in the dark, right? Like she couldn't have properly seen, but she definitely knows.
Fitz is fooling himself if that's what he thinks. Like, come on.
I don't know if that was meant to be a pun, but
once I said it, it occurred to me, but it wasn't intentional. Yeah, the Night Eyes. Oh, okay. Speaking of spoilers, that did make me weep. The death of Night Eyes, and just like the because we said we could talk about specific spoilers.
I just thought there was a comment about it.
No. Just talking about Night Eyes and specific spoilers in this series, like that really killed me, and just like the reflection at the beginning of The Golden Fool about like what it means that Night Eyes is dead to Fitz, and like all of that just destroyed me. Though I do love at the end, like when he's processing the fact that Night Eyes died at the end of Fool's Errand, the cat comes in and is like, "Pick up the cat, you will feel better." Pet the cat. I love that. I love that we get cat POV in this.
Yeah, I think it was in Golden Fool. Maybe it was Fool's Fate. I think it was Golden Fool, where he gets kicked out and the cat's like, "You just have to ask to be let back in." He's like, "No, I'm not welcome." He's like, "You have to ask like this," and it stretches and like scratches at the door, and it's like, "You just have to ask like this." They'll let you in. Like, that sounds like cat logic. Like, I swear, Robin Hobb must be like Dr. Dolittle, because I swear she gets animal POVs. Like,
nails it. Like, no,
it's not like I can check that she's right.
But a better cat. Yeah, the cat POV.
Like, we can ask the cat community, do you feel represented by Robin Hobb? But I feel like if they could read and could speak, they would say yes.
Yeah, Fennel is great. Fennel is one of my favorite characters in this new trilogy. Just anytime Fennel showed up, I was excited.
But I think I told you when we did, when we read the first one, and I was pretty down about it because of, again, the whole fan fiction thing. But this isn't a fan fiction problem. But there were several times in the first one that, we're being prepped for the fact that Night Eyes is pretty old. And there's I'm pretty sure at least twice, like one time where he comes near to death, where I was pretty sure he was going to die and then he didn't. And then a second time where he like does die and gets kind of brought back by the healing. And I was like ready for him to die then, and he didn't. So but then when he really did die in the book, I had already, it was like The Boy Who Cried Wolf, like I just didn't feel anything that much about it when he actually died, because I had been like, "Oh, Boy Who Cried Wolf." No, it wasn't. Because you know what I mean? Like, it's not like Night Eyes dying doesn't affect me, but I already felt that I was tricked into feeling that way, like getting my heart muscles ready twice before. Yeah. So when it actually happened, I was like, look, I just, like, I already felt this way. Like, you shot it already. Like, I don't have, like, you shot your
wad too soon. I think it's because, and I'm terrible at remembering details here, but Dutiful's animal is killed before that. Am I remembering that rightly? Yeah. So it may have also just been like a combination of tragic animal death. Like, I think
it was also
Aaron had a lot of tragic animal death.
Like, for you, you're saying that increased how much it hurt you to see Night Eyes, but I think it added to the decrease for me, because like I had already like preemptively felt the death.
You had nothing left to give. Died.
And then when I was like truly saddened by like because this cat did die, and I truly felt the pain of this child, and it was like Fitz and Nosy all over again. And I felt that. Yeah. And then to have Night Eyes die, I'm just like, okay. And also Grandpa died. Okay. But like, we just watched like a child lose his first animal, and I've already like preemptively been sad about Night Eyes' death, which technically didn't happen yet. But like, now he's actually dead. I'm like, yeah, fucking finally, he's dead. Like, I was pretty prepped for that. Great.
Yeah,
it made me feel awful because I wanted to be sad about it.
I think my general just sadness like is blending together in my memory of reading that like part of the trilogy of just like, there's a lot of sad. I mean, it's not hard to make someone cry if you kill a beloved animal. And I cried because there was a lot of beloved animal death towards the end of Fool's Errand and the beginning of The Golden Fool.
Yeah. I think I felt, because for the aforementioned reasons, I wasn't able to like get it up for Night Eyes' actual death. But I think it's either at the end of Fool's Errand, but I think it's not. I think it's in the beginning of Golden Fool, where things like Fitz is going through like knee-jerk reactions, where he like reaches out for Night Eyes and he's not there, because like it's just the instinct to do that, and all of the realizations of how he'll never go hunt again, and people asking him about it and being like, stop asking me about it, and like, you don't know what it's like. So stuff like that, I was like, this is hitting me more than his actual death did.
Yeah. No, that was at the beginning of the Golden, like Yeah, the beginning of the Golden Fool had him like processing it, and that also killed me. That killed me. Oh, see, you guys are so smart.
Interesting connection.
Yeah, the other, I'm trying to think of other like notable spoilery things I wanted to mention.
Well, there's definitely like the entire end of the trilogy. Like, I don't know if we're like holding off on that, but like so much about.
So I don't like I felt like Burke's like.
I'm sorry, his what now?
I didn't buy that. Really? I don't know. It felt sort of like a retcon. Just that he had that much power that he could just like pull out of somewhere. Am I remembering that rightly?
You mean his wit power?
Yeah, like it feels like it was like real. Has somebody ever done that before? Am I just not remembering it? It's like I mean, Burke
because we had
wit.
like, I think because to me, like I was like, well, from the very beginning, in Farseer, Night Eyes referred to him as heart of the pack, and it was already like he was singled out for like the animals were like, no, he's like a big deal. So I was like, you know, he's
kind
got
of a big deal.
Yeah. So I was like, it checks out for me that he's been like suppressing like some kind of like insane wit ability.
Okay. It felt a little bit like a retcon to me, but you're selling me a little bit on it more.
Like I don't necessarily think she'd planned for that moment to ever happen, but she had already alluded to him probably having like a pretty deep connection to the wit.
Yeah, it seemed to me that he was certainly witted, but I guess
not just witted though, heart of the pack.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, you're kind of selling me on it a little bit more, so maybe I'll give her a pass on that one. The thing I do not like is the Molly Fitz.
Oh, that's what most of our messages. When I went back and listened, almost all our messages were about that.
It like honestly, I liked so many other things in that last book, but I don't remember hardly any of it because I just was so unhappy with that. Like that is my abiding memory of the book.
And that's my also like that's the note the trilogy ends on. So when I think of Tawny Man trilogy, I think of that.
I don't like it. It's like somebody told when I mentioned this in my review, like I did just like my month end wrap up, non-spoilery, somebody was saying it's not supposed to be a happy ending. He says he's content, not that he's happy. And like I can see that I think that's possibly maybe that's what she was trying to sell us on, but it read to me like we were supposed to be buying this as a happy ending for Fitz. And it's not. Like it totally negates all of his character growth. I feel like we've gotten in the Tawny Man trilogy, which is what I liked best in this trilogy was his character development and his character growth. Like I hate it.
If we were meant to leave with a feeling of like a happy ending by way of contentment, then there was a way to write it very similarly to how it was written, but not the way that it was written, where like they can co-parent, they can begin each other's lives again, they can, you know, have not a, you know, relationship, but a relationship where like we are
relationship.
Yeah, not a roll in the hay where they're like, oh, the kids are home. Like, no,
what is this? That's the stuff that makes me feel like I'm supposed to be buying. It's like, oh, see, it's like we're finally getting our chance to be together, and it's
our
like
first love. No,
and I'm like, well, first of all, like fuck Burke's drag, I guess, because like what Molly, did you not love your husband of nearly 2 decades? Fitz, are you just like, whatever, Burke stole my lady from me, now I'm getting to get back with her now that he's gone? Like, I don't like that. I don't believe that Fitz is
We're correcting the timeline, things as they should have been. Fitz and Molly together, and Burke was never supposed to be here in the first place. Like,
yeah, I don't like it at all. I'm like, this would have been a happy ending for 19-year-old Fitz, but this is not a happy ending for 30-something Fitz. And I just don't like Molly. Really not. Is that okay? Am I allowed to say that? I don't. I liked her okay in the original trilogy, but
I feel like I wasn't sure exactly how you felt because like I feel like I went harder on this in our voice messages about how like I felt that in general, and Molly is a big part of this, but it's not the only one, that towards the end of this trilogy, I felt like there was just like a compounding of sexist depictions of females, where like the way Molly was acting, the way Nettle was acting, the way mainly the two of them, maybe there was someone else, but like the way that they were reacting at the end was very like cliche, bitchy, catty. Well, you never considered my feelings and you never listened to me. And what about what I want? And you're like, you're a grown ass woman who's fully aware of the fact that, yeah, maybe you're upset that you weren't allowed a choice in the matter, but you also know that Fitz was in a horrible life or death situation where like he did the best he could. No one knew he was alive. Like they had literally tried to kill him. He was resurrected. Like, woman, like this isn't like a you just left me and like didn't ever call. Like that's not the situation that it was. Like, get the fuck out of here.
I don't disagree with your assessment of that. It didn't impact me that way when I was reading it, but like when you say it, I'm like, yeah, that is there. So I think that's a pretty valid reading.
Well, like Molly was kind of that way when they were young, and also nothing like that dramatic had happened yet. Like, you know, Fitz has his own problems. He's terrible at communicating that. So like there's problems.
Oh my gosh. Fitz is so terrible at any kind of communication.
So like, yeah, like however many years ago, Molly being like, you're the worst and you don't understand and you never think of me. And I'm like, that's appropriate. But she's like saying the same things now when she's a mother of 6 and she knows exactly why Fitz disappeared and why it's not like she doesn't know. She does know where he was and why it was a secret. And the fact she's still reacting this way, I was like, it's like a time capsule, Molly, that she's exactly who she was back when she left Fitz's life. And I'm like, she shouldn't be.
It feels like she's not lived a life, and she's lived a lot of life. So,
and seemed to have found happiness with Burrich.
Well, and I can even understand her being angry with Fitz. Like, even if you rationally are like, I get why you did this, like, I can understand still having that emotion. But she doesn't feel like she's been a mother to 6 children and lost a beloved husband and thought she already lost the father of her first child. Like, she's experienced a lot of life, and she reads like she's a petulant 18-year-old.
Exactly.
So I don't know.
That's why it was a compounding too, where I was like, so Molly's doing this, and then Molly's daughter is doing this, because I got so angry, and I give it more, like, I have a little more patience for it because she is actually that young.
Yeah, that didn't bother me really because she's so young.
But what bothered me was that the text didn't like handle it better, like the reaction to her behaving this way. Because like when she gets mad at Fitz because she's like, you know, you say you want a relationship with me, you say you love me, but you haven't even tried to talk to me. And Fitz, like, we all know that he was like, you know, like, well, you didn't want me to, like, you told me you didn't want me in your life. And she was like, I wanted to see how hard you would try. And which is such a bullshit thing to say. And like, okay, but she's a petulant kid.
Yeah. Like,
right. But so then like Fitz's response to that, it should he's now learned to be a father through being around Hap. He's supposed to have like kind of figured this out, not perfectly, but like his reaction to that is like, well, I just never knew how to talk to women because I never was around women. I was raised by Burrich. That's his response to that. Instead of, look, I'm respecting your wishes. I love you, and you told me you don't want me in your life, and I will never force myself into your life.
That would have been
want me in your life. I will be. Yeah, which is what he's supposed to be now. They both,
which is what he's supposed to be by the time. Yeah. Also, I think that's kind of bullshit. Yeah, it's kind of a bullshit reasoning too, because wasn't Burke like drowning in pussy? Like, isn't that kind of the implication in the first? Like, he saw Burke with women. It seemed like. Or wait, no. Maybe Burke was keeping that from him because that was
he was keeping it, but he heard that, like, patience. That's right. And then like the kitchen staff were like, Burge.
Yeah, that was right. I'm sorry, I forgot. He like was kind of scandalized when he realized that Burke had like a whole like side hustle on the side. Yeah. Okay, so I'll redact that. But yeah, it feels like he's maybe they're just bad together. Maybe we're gonna find that out in the next trilogy. Is like that they bring out the worst in each other and that they like regress when they're together.
He's the expert on the Realm of the Elderlings, and Derry also doesn't like Molly, so I feel very like vindicated.
Thank you, Derry, for validating our. I feel bad. Like, I don't want to dislike one of the. I mean, I love a romance. Like, I'm here for happy endings, but it just doesn't feel like a happy ending. Maybe that's why it bothers me so much. Because like I'm here for a happily ever after, and this, my friend, is no happily ever after. This is like a.
The man is always content at the end of his trilogies.
He's a content dude. This is an interesting point.
Yeah, that really in Molly's time with Burrich, he must have kept some big secrets from her for the entire marriage. Kind of feels like more of a betrayal of trust than what Fitz did. But I also feel like this is a betrayal of Burrich's memory, how quickly they jump in the sack together.
I think so too. And I mean, life is short. You gotta, life is for the living. I'm not saying that they can't move on. But it just felt real fast.
And it again, like if it it was just the tone of it being like young kids who are like, oh, can't keep our hands off each other. Like that's the tone of it. And like even if they had, okay, so like I would prefer where they are now, you know, they've changed, they've grown, but they also have Nettle in common. They did care about each other at once upon a time. They both cared about Birch. They have a lot to still bind them. So if they were in each other's lives, and if you even wanted to say they could find a way to having some kind of a romantic relationship again,
yeah,
like that's not off the table. But
yeah, that like maybe I think it would have been more successful to me if it had been like, we're not going to have a romantic relationship, but like I promised Burke I would take care of his kids. Like I want to be here for you guys. Like it's not just something I have to do. It's something I want to do. Like I want to be there and to, you know, be with you through this hard time. Okay. Like I get that. I think that would be lovely. And like maybe at first Molly is still really mad at him and she's like, I know I shouldn't be mad at you, but I am. I can't help that, but I appreciate that you're helping me through this hard time. And like, we're going to grieve. And like, maybe we see some like, hey, 6 months later, they like go to Nettle's school play. I don't know, whatever it is that you're co-parenting together in the fantasy realm of the Elderling. And like, maybe they find
they're going to their skilling recital.
Yeah. They're going to her skilling recital and they like find each other laughing and like making eye contact. And then like a year later, like, you know, they get drunk and kiss or something. Like if you showed it, like there would totally be a way for me to buy that like they were co-parenting together and that eventually turned into an adult version of feelings. But that is not to me like what is communicated. And that makes me sad because I'm here for them to have happy endings, like, and for her to find a way for these characters to be happy, but it just didn't feel earned. And that makes me sad.
Yeah, again, like we said, how it felt like when we really liked the idea of Fitz becoming whole again when trauma that he like put into that he removed from himself, once he reincorporates that into his being, that he feels like a whole person again, because you can't just take that part out of yourself, and that he now feels whole again, and that does have a change in him. But that doesn't mean he's now who he was the day that he rejected that trauma. Now he doesn't revert to being 18-year-old Fitz, which is kind of how it feels.
Yeah, it does. Oh, okay. Jerry's correcting us that it does take over a year. Okay, maybe I just missed that, and maybe I'm just not a good reader.
But it's not even the time. It's for me, it's not even the timeline of it. It's that we're rolling in the hay, and oh no, the kids are home, and they can't catch us because we were like making love in the grass. Like it just feels very like, tee hee, we're sneaking around like some young kids again.
Yeah, I don't know.
It just felt very immature, and
it just feels
after all this time.
It doesn't feel lived in. It doesn't feel earned.
And so again, I don't like the implications throughout. Like, okay, so they come back together, and either it's super romantic immediately, or maybe after some time, or maybe never at all. Forget, who cares? But like the fact that when Birch comes back and is like, Molly would always have chosen you if not for what happened.
Which
she never would have picked me. And then Molly does basically act like, yeah, well, you never gave me a choice, and I'm super pissed that I didn't get to have a life with you because I had to live with fucking Birch. Like, I hate that. And I'm just like, you're being catty and bitchy, and also screw you. And like,
Birch is a fine figure of a man, and you should consider yourself lucky that you got to go to sleep next to him for 16 years.
Well, the way that I had always thought about them together, like from what we would hear about them and what the glimpses Fitz would see of them, what always came to mind, to bring in Robin Hobb's bestie again is George R. Martin's Game of Thrones. And I frankly don't remember if this line is actually in the book or not, but it's definitely in the show, and it's such a good line that like I hope it's in the book, but I genuinely don't remember if it is. But when Catelyn is trying to talk Robb out of marrying the girl that he has like a thing for, as opposed to like the practical political marriage, and she's like, I was young once as well, and like I know how you feel. She's like, and I didn't love your father, Ned Stark, when we got married. I didn't love him, but we built a marriage together, and it is stronger and it is more long lasting than like your spring fling. And I love him now, and what we have together is more than what your little fling is. Like that specifically says it's strong. We built it and it's stronger. And I was like, that's Molly and Birch. And then now to be all like, Fitz is back. Like, what?
Yes.
No, you're the
okay. Also, Derry is reminding me of the other thing that really bothered me about this ending, which is that he is. I mean, she should consider herself lucky that she got to make love to that man for
apart from his narrow-mindedness about the wit and driving his own son away, he's not the best about that.
Well,
he's the best.
Okay, in ye fantasy realm, everybody's got problems. Okay, you got to take the best of the. You got to pick which problems you're going to live with. The other point she makes is the regaining of his memories doesn't unage him so much as give him back the same level of passion. The getting his memories back, I feel like this further cements my problem with the ending of Live Ship Traders and Althea. Because the whole thing of like what gives her a happy ending is that she gets her memories taken away. And now we're saying that in order for you to like live a full life, you have to get them back. I didn't like the Althea getting her memories taken away and that just like magicking her essay away from her and how that changed her. I didn't like that. And I don't like the idea that getting your memories back like restores you to your full, like, which is it? I'm sure that there's like some textual reason why they're two different scenarios, but like I didn't like the use of giving or taking away memories in either of those endings. So like my note to Hob would be to stop messing with people's memories because I don't think
I don't have a problem with it unless and until you are telling me that that's supposed to be the solution. Like the fact that someone would, like when Fitz decides to get rid of his memories, if someone is like, I can't deal with it, I'm choosing to get rid of them, like that a character, it's an interesting character beat that you'd be like, I totally buy that a character would be like, this pain is too painful, take it away, I don't care. And that like you might come to a realization later that like maybe I shouldn't have done that. Like those are all valid character beats to explore and be like, well, is it better to forget or are you incomplete without? Or
but that's not what it feels like.
But yeah, it feels like, oh, but I'm telling you that like the way I'm coding this event is to say that this is a positive thing to have happen rather than an interesting, plausible thing to have happened.
Yes. And yeah, I know that Cameron's saying
this
is the pain, but
what does that even mean?
But like, yeah. I just don't buy that. I mean, I've experienced sexual violence and like maybe this is just part of why it like really rubs me the wrong way, but I'm like I think that this is fundamentally like not understanding or like I guess part of what's disappointing about it is that I feel like the way that she handles Kenneth's experience with sexual violence, I really actually like the way that all of that was played out. And so it's disappointing to me to then see a different character not, in my opinion, getting that treated well.
Well, and as we said, like the real nail in the coffin on that is not only does it get magicked away, but she's on the ship that holds the consciousness
of her abuser.
like explain that one to me. So you can tell me that taking the pain away is like, you know, is medicinal, magically medicinal, but how is it medicinal to like live on your abuser?
And it's not, and it would be one thing if it was coded as like a complicated thing. It's coded as a positive, like Althea is now getting her happy ending amongst all these other happy endings at the end of this book. And I'm like, maybe that's just my problem. I want her to stop trying to code things as being happy to make me feel less bad about the fact that she like rips my heart out in the rest of these books.
But I think
just don't code it as being happy. Like code it as being
happier
neutral.
She didn't do that.
Yeah. I just so I really my note to Robin Hobb, if I may respectfully give it to her, is to stop messing with people's memories because I'm not enjoying thematically like what it's implying about your world. And it's a sour note.
Again,
and otherwise
like when she does it in a more neutral way, because like the way that memory shapes the wood and the way that we have a right to then make the wood into ships, but then the ships were their own personalities that were different from the worms that they were before. Like that's very interesting. And she never codes. Yeah. She never says it's good or bad. She just says it's complicated.
It's complicated. Great. Yes.
But if you had at any point taken a side on that, then it would stop being great.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so that was the other part about the ending of this book that I didn't like was him getting his memories back. I guess it would change who you were as a person, but I liked the person he was without his memories better than the person that he is with his memories. Maybe that's the problem. I liked him better.
But I think like the problem isn't the fact that he got his memories back. It's the fact that how she decided that how he would now, how that, because the fact that he would maybe feel more whole and feel more complete, and that would change, like that his like that there would be a more fullness to him, and that he would feel more connected to his own life in a way that he didn't before, because he was kind of like numbed to it. Like that all checks out. But the fact that he's like young and lusty and back with Molly again, I'm like, that's not what I know. That's not the result of that.
No, like it would have been interesting for it to like get, I don't know, maybe it's just that she didn't have enough time to explore it at the end of the book. And this is just sort of like,
but then I'm like, then don't introduce it, and we don't need a quick little hasty happy ending. Like,
yeah, I like, it would be interesting to see those, like him not numbed out to life, but with the experiences that he's had since then, like really trying to meld those two, I think could have been interesting. But that doesn't really, it's like, oh, Royal Assassin Fitz is back. And it's like, no, I don't want that Fitz back.
That doesn't make any sense either, because then like then it's not even that you've become whole again. You've just traded out like all the growing you did. Now that's gone, and instead you've put back the thing you lost previously. So it's just like a trade. It's not even like adding back in the piece that was missing now with everything that was added since then. It's like, no, forget the maturing you did. Now that you've regained the piece of yourself that was missing, you've just regressed.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's a bummer, because there's so much in this trilogy that I think is fantastic. And I feel like I walk away with it having somewhat of a negative impression because I don't like the ending so much.
And this isn't exactly what I think, but like this has gotten me thinking that Urza says, wouldn't getting the memories of trauma back feel like the trauma happened again and mess you up the same way it did the first time? And
you
like,
would think.
And not like that's not specifically like, so like the way I would think of it would be not necessarily that it would feel like it's happening again, but because kind of similarly to like, so we don't have magic to do this, right? But so there are people that basically compartmentalize their trauma and don't deal with it, and it's the same idea, of like, I'm going to put it in a metaphorical box and not look at it and pretend it never happened. And in the same way that like he's basically put his trauma in a box and never then dealt with it, never actually confronted it. And so all those years that would have been spent possibly working through those traumas, he didn't spend working on those traumas. So now it's just been put back raw and unhealed, like the way that it was when he first, put it in a box. And so then it wouldn't feel like it's happening again, but it would be like, you could have spent this time healing and like building a callus around this. But instead, it's just been put back raw and fresh, and you haven't actually like built into yourself a way to make this a part of yourself because you grew without it.
It almost reminds me of like people who go into sobriety and then have to like, and this is not a one-to-one, but just go with me here. Like they go into sobriety and then they have to confront often the reality of like the way they've hurt people in their lives when they were not sober. And the pain like it might be over something that happened like 10 years ago. But like they're processing the fact that like whatever they did, that they did it, and that they, like have to figure out how to move forward with this person, where that person has been healing from it for like 10 years, but they're encountering it and like really acknowledging and owning that hurt for the first time. Like it wouldn't be the same as it being totally raw, but like you would think there'd be some level of processing like that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, like Versa said, like he shouldn't be acting like he'd worked through it, because at no point did he work through it, because it wasn't there. So he didn't have the time to work through it.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like I'm being really negative. I do really like, I will say something I like about the ending is I like that the Fool is revived. And that
we did talk a lot about that in our messages, which I haven't talked about at all.
Yeah. I love that thematically, this idea of like, okay, what does it look like to be somebody who has lived their life assuming that they were going to die for everyone, and then that they do what they're supposed to do,
and not just die generally, but newly appointed time that they would die, basically.
Yeah, like I love the idea of like, okay, what do I do now? Like I obviously I'd love for
like the doomsday cultists who are like sell all their property and are ready for the day of judgment, and you're like, it came and went, and what do I do now? Like, it turns out it wasn't the day of judgment.
Yeah, I actually thought it totally made sense that the Fool couldn't stay with Fitz. So I mean, obviously it's sad that they're not together by the end, but like that made sense to me. emotionally. Like that was a more that was more emotionally consistent to me than what's going on with Molly. And
so it's like we
Fitz.
had like we could only pick one to be realistic. So Fitz and Fool was realistic, therefore the other one had to be this weird fanfic thing.
Yeah.
Like,
But I really liked the ending for the Fool. That I thought was really interesting, complicated, not totally what I was expecting. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, and I mean, to this point too, like it's very convenient that Burge dies. Like for that happy ending to happen. I was like, oh God.
That would be very interesting for him and Burke to have to like live together and like figure out a new version of their relationship where it's like, hey, you're with the woman I thought I was going to be with.
But it's been
you're
a
with
long
her
time. And I've been with other
you're my
women since
dad and you
then.
did some great things for me and you also made some fucked up decisions and like, you know, I would very much enjoy seeing some therapy sessions between Burke and Fitz as an adult where they're processing their shared trauma.
And where Molly is fully with Burge and isn't like making flirty eyes at Fitz because like that ship has sailed.
Yeah, but he should not be with. Somebody was mentioning Jenna. Yeah, she at first I thought she might be cool, and she does have the great cat, but she is the worst. So
I don't know. There's a lot of worsts in this book. I don't know if she even
yeah,
makes
that's true.
5.
I did not enjoy her as a romantic pairing for Fitz. How about that?
But then again, I've almost never liked any romantic pairings for Fitz.
No.
Really, only the Fool.
Only
like,
the Fool, but he's not sexually attracted to the
but,
Fool.
like,
So it's like maybe they can have a queer platonic relationship of some kind. I don't know, but that feels unfair to the Fool because he definitely wants to bone.
Fitz's best relationships are with Night Eyes and with the Fool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, Fitz, you should be alone. It's better that way.
Kind of. You're kind of doomed for being alone.
But yeah, I mean, I also like I likened it the Fool kind of being like so apparently I'm alive past my expiration date. What do I do?
Yeah,
but it kind of reminded me of like at the end of Princess Bride when Inigo Montoya is like, I spent so many of my years preparing for revenge that now that it's over, I don't know what to do with the rest of my life. And that's when Fitz should have told the Fool, have you ever considered piracy? You can go join up with Althea and
he has considered piracy.
Amber.
Or yeah. Maybe that's what they're going to do. Maybe they're going to go be Amber again, and I don't know.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah, we will find out
next week on Realm of the Elderlings.
Yeah,
but so we're starting. I don't know anything about Rain Wilds. Are any of these characters supposedly in Rain Wilds, or is this just like totally off its own?
Somebody told me that we do see people from like that. Some of the live ship crew.
Well, what's his name?
Main
the kid
characters
who's like super tied into the dragon. What's their little brother's name?
Oh, I don't remember. You're asking
but he's,
me
like
questions.
He's like basically like super like psycho connected to Tintaglia.
Let's look up the back of the.
Although people always say that the backs of these books are super spoilery, so I just never check them anymore.
Okay, well, I'm just skimming to see what names I see.
Like with Tawny Man, have you looked at now that we've read them?
Have you
looked at the backs? Have you looked at the backs of the Tawny Man books now that you've read them?
No. Should I read them?
They basically give away the entire plot, and you're like, dear God, so glad I did not read these.
Okay. Well, I'm not reading the details. I'm looking for capitalized things, and I'm seeing Tintaglia, Traitor Cities, Kelsingra, the Mythical Homeland, and then character names I don't know. So I'm guessing we're going to get some of our known characters.
Told us the answer. So Selden, that's the name of the kid. But she said Rain Wilds have no returning characters in the first 2 books. But the 2 later books get better and they bring more characters in.
Okay. Well, we're starting it next month, I think, right?
Yeah, that's my plan.
Yeah. And actually, I don't know if I should say this live, but these are all shorter books. So I'm more down to try to read 1 a month of these because they're not as like...
Well, we can decide once we've started the first one to be like, do we want to read the next one next month or not?
Yeah, that's true. They're more... I have a feeling that they're not going to be the same level of just like, oh my gosh, like I'm not as seasoned of a gigantic fantasy tome reader as you are, so I need
Well,
some like
also,
recovery time.
I made this mistake with Willful Princess, but I also think because they're shorter and they're about dragons that they might be less brutal. But I could be totally wrong about that. That because like part of the reason these books space is not even their length, although the length is true, but like it's the emotional depth.
Oh my god, yeah. It's just that they're so dense. They're like so dense and rich. They're rich texts, and they take a lot out of me. But
like emotionally more than the page
okay, Derry is saying that she'd recommend reading 1 and 2 really close together. Okay, so maybe we'll try. Maybe what we can do is we can read 1 and 2 in September, October, and then
skip November,
and then
December, January. Read back to back.
Yeah,
that works for me.
Something like that. We're getting close.
And then we have the Grimdark one. We have a new favorite character in Rainwell Chronicles.
Oh, okay.
She's good at characters. Also, like, because I'm feeling so kind of like just kind of burned out on Fitz and the Fool and this crew, I'm like, and I know I'm going to see them again, but I'm like, I'm kind of relieved that there's something in between before we do Fitz and the Fool, that I'm like I've had enough of you for a little while. I'm glad to have 4 books in between. I might start to be like, I could use some Fitz again by then, hopefully.
Yeah. 1 and 2 are also released between the Hunger. Oh, interesting. Interesting. I don't know. I'm optimistic. I really loved what we saw of the Rainwild. Like, that was some of my favorite stuff in Live Ship. So, I also just love dragons. So, like,
well, I was
gonna say a series about dragons, then I'm excited.
I want to say that I love dragons, but 90% of the time, maybe more, maybe 99% of the time, I actually, when I read a book that has dragons, I'm like, no, I don't like this. Like, in the concept of a dragon appeals to me, and then most of the time, the execution, I'm like, nope, didn't like that. But like the only 2 writers I think that I can think of, they may not be the only ones, but the only ones I can think of where I like them using dragons are George R. R. Martin and Robin Hobb.
I mean, I'm a sucker for dragons of any kind. I like a dragon shifter romance. I like space dragons. I've encountered some of those. I like fantasy. I just like dragons. They're fun. I like them when they're mean. I like them when they're secretly nice. Any flavor of dragon, really, I'm pretty into.
I feel like most of the time I feel just like I'll see a book with a dragon on it and I'll be like, ooh, and then I read it and I'm like, nah, like I don't think you know how to use dragons in your story. Like they'll make them a plot device, or they'll make them really corny, or they'll like they'll just yeah.
Most of the time they don't get it right. I'm just into, I like them, so I'm always happy when they're there.
Oh, I do like Fireborn, and that has good use of dragons in it.
There you go. Okay, Derry says not to hope for too much.
I would tend to. I feel like Robin Hobb, as I've said many, many times, is about the only author that can do all of the things that she's doing. Because, like, psychically talking to animals, forget dragons, animals of any kind, any other author, talking ships, any other author, I'd be like, that sounds so stupid, so unbelievably stupid. But Robin Hobb does it well. So the fact that her dragons talk, I'm like, she can pull it off. But like I do like that the dragons in the Song of Ice and Fire are very, very intelligent, but they don't talk.
Yeah. Well, everyone tune back in, I guess, at the beginning of next year, and we'll recap Rainwell Chronicles and see where we are. We're getting through it.
I guess get ready for it to be a setup books.
That's okay.
But yeah, I liked Tintaglia. Or I mean, I don't know if liked is the right word, because she's kind of awful, but like I enjoyed reading about Tintaglia.
Oh, she's very compelling. I don't know that I like her, but she's very compelling.
I also think that Tintaglia is a great name for a dragon.
Oh, I agree. The naming in general, well, I don't like the Six Duchies character attribute naming. I'm not into that. But
I got used to it.
The rest of the naming I'm into.
Kyle.
I only like him because it's Kyle fucking Haven, and also no offense to any actual Kyles, but most Kyles I know are very like well actually kind of guys that mansplain things to you. So like,
did you see on the Daily Show Desi Leidig being like, I've tried to understand the male experience by trying to like live my life like a man, and she's like, I've started like talking about Bitcoin even though I don't know anything about Bitcoin. I've started getting paid more for no reason. I have 3 friends now named Kyle.
Yeah.
Like,
No, me and my best friend at work have said that our new motto is to approach our jobs like mediocre white men, because we are less stressed. We have successfully negotiated higher salaries. It's a very good strategy in corporate.
you just need some friends named Kyle and start talking about Bitcoin, and you're all set.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's from Charleston, which explains everything.
Yeah, fair. Well, I will see you guys back here on Lana's channel, I guess, in
some point.
5 months, six-ish months to talk about 5 months, I guess, to talk about Rainbow Chronicles.
Yeah, I think we'll be back for book club before then.
Oh yeah. So you'll see me
specifically on my channel.
That's true.
I haven't plotted my revenge yet. I need to think of a way to.
Oh yeah, you gotta decide. Hey, you got to read. That was a book it only took you a day to read. You got a full ass video from it. I feel like that I could have tortured you far worse.
And I mean, I have to think of an equal, a proportionate revenge.
I mean, dated sci-fi fantasy is probably a pretty good way to torture me.
Part 2 of the Book of the New Sun.
If I'm picking, I would pick the sequel to The Black Company. Was that one?
I don't want to read that. That would be torturing myself.
Okay, well, I would prefer reading that to the more.
I'll finally make you continue First Law.
I probably could use being compelled to do that. I wouldn't be mad about that.
Well, I've been looking for a reason to reread the books next year. So if you would like to read them next year, I'll read them with you.
I'm trying to think I can't commit to it unless you're going to make me read it for book club until I get through Robin Hobb, because that's like my chunky.
So
like
when we finish Robin Hobb
series,
when we finish,
when we finish Robin Hobb,
we'll
we can do
a First Law together.
Yes. Because I liked First Law, but I probably need to reread it because it's been.
I also need to reread it now. It's been a few weeks,
months.
Yeah. Nope, just weeks.
A few days.
I mean, this is the first month in a while because we skipped August for the read along on the podcast. So this month I'm experiencing some First Law withdrawals, but we're back to it next month. So.
Thank God. getting your head. Speaking of sobriety, right now Lana is unwillingly sober from Joe Abercrombie, but she's about to get her fix here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad Alex is not here because he would just tell me to get help. Yeah. And the help I need is a reread.
I got a fever, and the only medicine is more cowbell / I
have a need for Grimdark.
Yes. Well, I need to go.
I mean, when I learned that Derry has read Realm of the Elderlings, is it like 16 times? I think it's something like that, right?
Well, oh my God.
So I was like, no one gets to give me grief over the like 3 times that I've read First Law.
I will say, it's a series that has so much going on in it. It definitely merits rereading. So like,
especially like, it's not really, hasn't been true so far, but from what I gather, which is what I said before, is that like, I wonder how that's possible if they were semi-pantsed, but that like the end of it does offer new context for everything you read up to that point. So then I could easily see like, because I say that about the First Law trilogy, the first one, that like where it ends, you're like, oh, now I must go back and read the beginning because like I did not know to look for that. Oh, I must go look for where all the times that you actually technically were hinting at this thing that I didn't know to look for. So like if that's the case at the end of Realm of the Elderlings, I could absolutely see wanting to be like, oh, given this, recently acquired information, I must go back to the beginning.
I now must go back. Yeah, I can see why somebody, at least even just from what we've read so far, I can see why somebody would get to the end of the books we've read so far and be like, I need to go back so that I can start catching more things.
Reread 23.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So literally no one give me grief over First Law. I have 20 rereads to go.
I just can't remember. Like, I literally just had to do a plot recapping bonus episodes for my podcast because, like, I just finished rereading Sight Changeling and I've already forgotten macro plot things. So I had to go back and, like, look at my notes and, like, record episodes so that I can remember. And
I think what's great about any book series that you like and that you like to reread, I think it's the mark of a good book series that, like, even if you've read it 3 times, 4 times, 23 times, that you find new things when you read it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you can hear them, but my cats are freaking out because I need to feed them. They're like, it is dinner time.
I'll let you go.
But I enjoy our biannual Rum of the Elderling check-in.
Yep. And then, you know, at some point I'll be permitted to bring up First Law because we'll actually be talking about First Law on purpose.
I know. Hey, I've got both of the audiobooks of the ones I've not read, so I'm ready to rumble whenever I've got the mental space for it. So
Yes, it's honestly so cathartic. I mean, every time I have a bad interaction, I say bad interaction, an interaction that like outwardly is positive, but in my mind, I'm griping about an interaction with the boss, you know, where I'm like, such an idiot. I can't believe you're asking me to do this. Are you serious? Like, that's what I'm thinking in my head. But out loud, I'm like, sounds great. Will do.
yeah.
Every time I'm like, Glocta. I feel Glocta right now.
Yeah. Well, Galactica, I feel like would not get great performance reviews at the end of the year.
Well, like most of the time, like he grins. It's only his internal monologue, you know, where he's like, "You idiot," but outward, he's like, "Yes, sir. Whatever you'll say, sir. Sure,
Yeah.
whatever." And he's like, "Idiot."
Except with his great little like tongueless cadence.
Oh
yeah.
Oh yeah. He's a character. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your Saturday, the rest of your boba, the rest of your Catterday.
Yes. Happy Catterday.
Where's mine? Oh, she's asleep. She's on the couch.
Hi, sweet girl.
It's found a little bit of sun right there.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's got sun, so she's.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
You're such a pretty girl. Aren't you?
She's like, what? You woke me up for nothing? Hi, baby.
Hi, sweet girl.
You can go back to sleep now. I don't have anything for you. As you were.
Like, I hear the baby voice. I know that's for me. Oh. Well, have a good rest of your Saturday.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.